Hello everyone and welcome to 4KB Shorts Bargain Bin. Today we're going to be taking a look at a game called Sunless Sea. Now a while back I did a bargain bin on a game called Fallen London by Fail Better Games and the Story Nexus at storynexus.com. And Fallen London was an interesting game in the fact that it was a browser-based game that gave you moves, 10 moves on standard, free to play 10 moves, and you could purchase more through microtransactions of course. But these moves in this game, which was turn-based, is turn-based, it still exists, were story-based. So you'd make a choice, you'd go to a place, you'd talk to a person, something like that, and then there'd be this story element, usually accompanied with a picture, and it'd explain some very interesting facts, and it was really well written, because the world of Fallen London, or the Echo Bazaar, takes place in a deep, dark cave underground in the 1800s, where London has been taken by bats. The entire city of London ripped from its roots and taken underground. Now, that may seem all and good for a game that is a slow-paced game that you'd play in a browser, maybe take a turn, go do something else, come back, take another turn, something like that. But how does it translate into Sunless Sea? Well, the Sunless Sea surrounds the Echo Bazaar, surrounds Fallen London, and you are a Z captain. And your job is to go about in the water and adventure. And what I find interesting about the game is that it's a roguelike, but it's a roguelike not like others. Because most roguelikes, when you think of a roguelike, you think of something like Cataclysm DDA, you think of Rogue, of course, you think of Dwarf Fortress, and games where the graphics aren't exactly the best. And so you sort of push the love of the graphics aside with the sheer amount of things that you can do. And the fact that dying, though killing your current character, doesn't really destroy your experience when you can restart the game. Sunless Sea is very similar to that, except for the fact that it has really excellent graphics. And so, although it's a roguelike, and the fact that your captain is going to die, your captain's going to die a lot, it has some interesting features for it, and I guess the best option here is to show you. Now this, of course, is Sunless Sea, and as you can see, the subtitle there is Zubmariner, because they've recently released DLC for it called the Zubmariner campaign, where you can convert your ship into a submarine. And let's go ahead and take a look. I was on the wrong screen there. Let me go ahead and load. Now we're going to load a game. Now, just so you know, normally you would not be able to save games separately. There's a hardcore mode and a kind of a wimpy mode, and while trying to unlock my submarine, I killed 5 captains. And I had to restart 5 times, and the submarine quest isn't exactly easy to do. So I ended up having to go into easy mode where I could save after each time I went back to London. And so because of that, it became kind of a pain. Well, not a huge pain, but a minor pain. So we're going to go ahead and take a look. Let me see what we have here. Do I already have it? I don't believe I do. Here it is. Ah, perfect. This is what I wanted to show you. Now, because the Submariner campaign is an extension to the original game, that's kind of what I'm going to be concentrating on, but at the same time, you're going to see the elements of the original game along with it. Now, what this was is, this is the end of a quest. And again, 5 captains drowned, bringing this quest to fruition. But what you have to do is you have to come down to this place, the port of Carnelian, the Carnelian port. And then you get a quest to do a couple things. You drop off money or some special artifacts. Then you're told to go someplace else, which can be random. Told to go someplace else, pick up something and bring it back. I found the thing that we needed to look for, which is the pilfered sonar schematics, and then we can complete our ship. So we have the hidden workshop. On the shore of a gloomy inlet stands a rickety factory. Once, and supposedly still, it was committed to the cutting and polishing of sapphires. Now it is a place where the fierce philanthropist houses her intrepid staff of engineers, the ingenious men and women who will convert your ship into a submarine. So we're going to complete phase 2, where you brandish. No, it looks like there's a typo here. You brandish the pilfered sonar schematics. The engineers cheer. So yeah, small typo, which happens. It's new content. And then we have more quests. They set to work immediately. Your ship is docked at the workshop and concealed beneath a set of awnings. Beneath Hammer's ring, drills whir, mechanics argue, reconcile, and improvise. From the outside, your ship looks largely unaltered, but inside, new pipes gleam. A satisfying lever stands by the helm, surrounded by an array of mysterious gauges and dials. This extends the shell hull, the weary engineer explains. Don't pull it until you're out at sea, eh? The first philanthropist offers you a sherry. We've done it, she says. To a new journey, humble, wherever they may lead. So, here's our small instructions, and this made me kind of cheer a little bit inside. So any blue text is just in-game text to describe to you what's going on. If you trade the ship for another, your chief engineer will automatically apply the submarine conversion process to your new vessel. Future captains can obtain a submarine's conversion by returning to Port Carnelian. They will not have to repeat the quest, which I, again, cheered because 5 captains. Many Bothans died to bring us this conversion. So, our conversion is complete. Your ship may now transform into a submarine, and your future captains may convert their ships to submarines without cost. Beautiful. So we're here in Port Carnelian, so for anybody who's never played Fallen London, or for anybody who's never seen Sunless Sea, this is going to seem like you're being thrown into kind of a pit. Because the interesting thing about Fallen London is when you start out, you're thrown into a pit. Whether you play Fallen London on the website or whether you play Sunless Sea here, you don't have a background. There's no books, no stories, no nothing you can read that says here's who your characters are, who your players are, who all the important people are. You don't know. The only way to know is to play and to learn. You learn as if you're just newly born into the world. And so for someone who's played it a little bit over time, I know a little bit more than for somebody who, say, has just jumped in. So for you and myself, there's going to be places and things and names and conversations that I am completely oblivious to, while there are others where I'm not. So what you do to make money, because we have a little bit of money, they're called echoes, basically our coin, is what I do is I compile a port report. Now I've already done all that. You go to a different port, you compile a port report, and then you leave. Now in this case, the only thing we can do here is we can pan for sapphires in the fungal jungle, which I'm never quite keen on going into any fungal jungle because the creatures there are mean and violent. But any challenge that you get comes with a ticker kind of thing. So we have our iron quality, and it gives us a 35% chance of success, and those qualities can be found up here. So our iron quality is 44. That can go up with many different things, and it can also go down. Our biggest one right now is our veils, which is our speed, stealth, and deception. Decreases the range at which enemies will spot you. Very helpful when you're out on Z. As a matter of fact, this is the highest it's ever been. And it turned out to be the key component in surviving long enough to get to the submarine. So, we can buy some stuff and take it back home. I think that's what we might do. Let me take a look at our hold really quick. 27 of 40 with 21 fuel. 5... Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to buy some supplies because we need to feed our crew of 9 out of 10. How many sailors do you have aboard? 9 out of 10. This is our fear meter, our terror meter. If it gets to 100, your crew will begin to mutiny and you will most likely die. It starts at 0, but after it gets past 50, you have a very hard time getting it below 50. Going back to Fallen London will drop it back to 50 naturally, automatically, but getting it lower is much more difficult. We have our hunger gauge. At 50%, we feed our crew. If we have no food, 7 supplies, we have no food, this will continue to go past 50, but as it increases, what will happen is we'll start to want to devour each other. We, of course, have our fuel barrels, and then our fuel gauge is empty right now. This will drop to 20, and it'll kick back in when we start going out. Our hull, we've taken a bit of damage. Our cargo capacity and our speed, which I have a couple of upgrades. I've upgraded my main turret and my engine so we can get places a little bit faster. But we're not going to buy sapphires. Usually I'd buy some sapphires since we're going somewhere, but we're not going to buy any sapphires. We're just going to go. Now I've killed our front light because our front light uses coal. I have our fuel. I have in the past used my forward light in order to keep my fear down, because if you see the fears, it circles. You'll see a little bit of red pop in. When it's red, it fills up two dots at a time. Yellow will be 1 dot at a time, green will be none, or it'll reverse. Now, you may be wondering, why am I allowing this to fill up so quickly with red? It's because I know where London is, and we can get there pretty fast. Now, if we take a look at our map, the map is very interesting and very fun. It starts out with a fog of war, no matter what. And I'm pretty certain I'm not still going anywhere. No, okay. Pauses when you go to your map. Sometimes I'm worried about when it pauses. I'm still not quite sure. The interesting thing about the map here is that it always starts out in the fog of war. It's always completely black. The only thing you have is Fallen London and the Wolfstock Docks, and that's it. And as you go out, you find out where different islands are. Now, certain places, such as Hunter's Keep, Mutton Island, the Cumaean Canal, the Iron Republic, Port Carnelia, anything along the shore, as it were, anything along this shore here and up in here, Venderbight, Wither, Codex, these will always remain the same. You will never, ever not find these islands in these places where they are, which is nice. However, certain other islands shift. The Isle of Cats, Visage, the Reef of Roses, the Salt Lyons, all of these islands, they're not always here. They can be over here, they can be down here. They have placements, like if you were to take it and split it into a grid, they land on a grid, but every time you restart, the islands are just a little bit different. And so you can't guarantee that you'll find a place that you see, let's see now, in that same place. Like Gator's Mourn, last time, my last captain before he went to the deep, Gator's Mourn was down here. Now, there's some very interesting stuff, and I did explain it. I did mention earlier that you can... Gotta find out where... there we are. You can... you restart whenever you die, of course, because it is a roguelike, but you can pass things on to your next captain. And one of the things you can pass on to your next captain is your chart. And your chart remains exactly like it is now. It's not that you pass the chart on like the islands stay where they are. You literally know where everything is. Everything your last captain looked for, you see now. So its fog of war is the same as yours. We have a banded shark over there. Now we're going to take a quick stab at our new toy. So this is our Zubmarine. Awesome conversion. And this is the new DLC. Now I haven't had much experience with this DLC. I picked up a couple of quests, but that was about it. Basically, it's exactly like it is above water, except now you have an O2 gauge, which slowly goes down over time. And there are different beasties to deal with. We're just going to go ahead and ignore beastie there, and we're going to dock. So, we are now at Rosegate, and I hope he doesn't come visit me. I'm not sure if that's a bug. There are some few bugs that I found here and there. It's not so much a port as a shop with a dock. And colored ceiling lights shine into the display cases lining the walls. A large shop counter dominates the room. Cigars, ashtrays, guillotines, matches, and carved boxes are all for sale. Each step here transports you into a new realm. At one moment, the heady aroma of summer flowers. Then the earthly fung of fungus. The bitter warmth of morning coffee. The sickening sweetness of sweat and midnight honey. Go away, we're closed. The crotchety tobacconist sits smoking behind the shop counter. The ashtray next to him is stacked with cigar butts. I cannot assist you until my apprentice returns. Well, where does his apprentice go? Let's find out. I sent him on an errand. He just had to collect a parcel from... where was it? Either the Empire of Hands or the Tomb Colonies. He sits up and stretches. His joints crack loudly. I have very important work, and I cannot continue without him. Please, unless you've news of the boy, leave me be. So any curse words will be blanked out like this. I can usually tell what most of them are, but I'm not entirely sure what starts with a B and ends with an R. I'm not going to bother to guess right now. You're welcome to try, though. So we can sample this high-quality cigar. It takes 12 echoes to do. I'm not really in the mood, but we can take a pamphlet. Now, this is the same thing as a port report in this case. Neatly printed histories of the shop are stacked high on one of the display cases. A notice encourages visitors to take one. All right, and we have unlocked with no more than 0x, 0 times a port report, Rosegate. Self-published plaudits. The pamphlet describes Rosegate as a cigar shop with a factory on the upper floor. True. Here they produce and sell an unparalleled variety of cigars. Also true. The tobacconist is described as a world-renowned figure and respected for his dedication to his craft and the brilliance of his creative vision. The pamphlet boasts that his genius will forever alter the tobacconist's art. Well, that remains to be proven. So we have a port report, which is great. Now we can stop and take a look at the shop. We can buy some fuel, which we don't need. Sell some fuel if we needed cash, which we don't need. I don't know how I'm going to get out of here, actually. Hopefully we can get out without being whacked by the young gentleman there. Now, we're just going to go to the surface. We could spend more time under the sea if we felt like it, but I'm not in the mood to deal with him wiggling about like a fish. So we're just going to return to the surface, back to the, well, See, the thing is the place that we're in is called the Neath, as in beneath. And this is called the Unterzea, Undersea. And the question becomes, is it still the Unterzea, or is it Unter the Unterzea? I don't know. I'll have to find out. Now, I don't remember whether or not I've gone to Visage Island. I remember I came down there specifically to get my hands on something, but we are a bit damaged. 32 out of 75 hull. I took a few hits on the way south. I mean, take a look at our cargo. No, that's easy, but you know what? We're going to just remove this tutorial. And I did that knowing full well I shouldn't have done that. Going to remove the tutorial because I'm pretty certain I know how to use the ship. But what I wanted to take a look is we have... Okay, so I didn't really make any stops on the way south. So we didn't stop by Visage. I'm not going to stop by Visage. It takes about 10 minutes to get through Visage. I should kill my light. It takes about 10 minutes to get through Visage without being... by reading through everything. Mostly because Visage... It literally tells you when you land. If you land here, it will take you a minute to leave. So land with caution. What I am really looking for is I'm taking a look at our hold. We have 24 cargo. Yeah, you know what? I can take the hit. I think I can take the hit. So we're going to get a little bit of money. I'm going to kind of give you a teeny tiny spoiler. Not a huge spoiler, but a teeny tiny spoiler here at the Salt Lyons. And it's a way I found to make a large amount of cash, as well as get a very interesting story all at once. There's a vast sorrow in their empty eyes. Two basalt beasts, cathedral-sized. They frown eternally at each other across the black waves. The north one carries an encampment. Creeping human figures eat away at its features like rot. Picking. There's a supply dock below. Okay, so when you're out at sea long enough, you get this little thing next here. Something awaits you in port. Any port you land in, you'll end up with one of these, which is unlocked when something awaits you. Which means you can get a little bit of a story. Stories will give you stuff. Sometimes they'll kill crew members. Sometimes they'll eat you. Sometimes they'll cause your fear to go through the roof. Sometimes good things happen. But in the Unterzea, you have to notice that a lot of times, even when a good thing happens, it carries a heavy toll. And so we have a couple of options. We have Salt's rights. The face of the Northern Sphinx is all but gone. Lost faces are sacred to Salt, they say. You are drawn there. To what end? Salt's voice is distant but clear. Now, if we do this, we'll end up with a couple of extra things. Gods of the Sea, Defiant. We can get an extraordinary implication. And a couple of other things. We'll compile a port report. Record the activities of the Unmakers, such as they are. Bread of Stone and Silence. So we got ourselves a port report. And we'll go visit the Unmakers rather than doing the Salt's Rights. Salt's Rights will give me an item, but I don't want the item. The item takes up space in our hold. I actually just want to do this. Muscular pick wielders rest on camp stools, watching you approach, passing hip flasks around. An unctuous overseer beckons you to sit. Fungal Tisane and tea cakes. We get funding from the bazaar, it's true, but station full? I wouldn't call it station 4. It's a little grandiose. The stones are stuffed with secrets, but most of them are used as garden statuary or occult ballast. Most of them. Some go down to the places under the bazaar. More tea cakes. So we've lost 5 terror because we got to sit and relax and talk to somebody. We lost our something awaits you, so our little symbol is gone. And we've gained 1 fragment. Now, fragments add up to secrets. And as you can see, this little bar here, your pages score is 28, so glean another 51 fragments to gain a secret. So if we have really high pages, it takes less fragments to gain a secret. And every time we gain a secret, we can then spin that secret to do stuff, like increase our pages. Or in this case, if we were to talk to, say, our Longshanks gunner. A Longshanks is a recent graduate from the Urchin gangs, but where did she learn to fire a cannon? So we can actually talk to our officer. The Longshanks gunner is not the most distinguished of officers, but she'll do until you find someone better. I don't know, I like her. Now, see, I can't trade a secret because I don't have any, but if I were to trade a secret with her, she can increase my iron up to 50, which is how I've been increasing my iron. But without that, we will go ahead and carry some Sphinx Stone to London. The Unmakers are here to reduce the Salt Lyons to rubble, 1 block at a time. Help them in their work by carrying the rubble back to London. So I need a deposit, that's 200 echoes, and 20 units of spare cargo space. Now I don't have the spare cargo space. I'm off by a couple, but we can cope with that. By dumping some fuel. Fuel is not too expensive, and we'll get a lot more of it when we get back to London. Because by picking up a port report, not only do you get money, you also get a little bit of fuel. The Admiralty will provide you with a tiny bit of fuel, i.e. 1 fuel, for your actions. So we're going to go ahead and head back up north. And the game is very interesting, and again, I haven't had much experience with the Unterzea, mostly because there's only a few places that I found where you can go underwater. This being one, as far as I know, right here, because I've floated there, there's nothing there. So you have to assume that this little anchor here that says you can go to port means you can go to port underwater. There's a couple other places as well, as Low Barnett. I know for a fact you can go there. And I believe this one? But again, it's hard to tell because a lot of them exist under the sea. Combat time. Now, combat is very interesting. We have a high veils, so we're actually... This guy doesn't notice us. You'll see an icon when they do. See, now he has an icon, which means he sees us. When we may die here. This may be where our captain ends. He doesn't do much damage, which is fine. But if we stay behind him, it gives us the bonus. Now, if somebody's lit up... If somebody's lit up, this bar will go green, meaning that the amount of light to see them is high enough to actually see them, and it'll fill up faster. If it's orange, it fills up at low speed, and it's because there's no light. I'm burning a little bit of extra fuel here with my lantern on, but he keeps firing flares, which gives me the same bonus he gets, because as long as we're both beneath the flare, we both have the bonus of being able to see one another. So I could actually just turn off my light and then sync it. And once you've killed a beast of some kind, whether it be a ship or a monster, if you bump into the garbage it leaves behind. You defeated an Alcaeus-class vessel. The ship is yours. What will you do with her? Scuttler. She was a fine ship. Take what you can and move on. This sort of upsets me a little bit, because when I first started playing the game, back when it was first released, there were many tiny ways to make money, one of which is you could be a pirate hunter. You could sink these ships, and if you had enough crew on board, you could split your crew in half and send the ship you just attacked back to Fallen London. And then when you get back to Fallen London, they'd give you some echoes for capturing the ship. It was like a salvage thing. They have since taken that out of the game. No matter how much crew I have, I've never been able to capture any ship of any class. There were a couple other things that they took out. Transporting tomb colonists was another one. You could go from London to Venderbite and transport tomb colonists back and forth, and that was worth a little bit of money. But again, now they only let you do that once, and you can't do it anymore. It's kind of an irritation, but there are other ways to make cash, if you don't mind. What's this? Here's something at the back of the hold. So we are going to go ahead and loot the ship. Is that the mark of the Iron Republic? Hell's client state. Candles! What does Hell want with candles? Does it not have enough fires of its own? Was this from, or destined for, the Iron Republic? Don't ask questions about devils, runs the proverb, unless you want your soul ripped out by the roots and fed to goats. It's not much of a proverb, actually. Yes, there are devils and ghosts and monsters afoot, and so it's a very interesting universe, because I'm actually, in this particular playthrough, I've actually sold my soul, or not even sold, I gifted it to a deviless who lives on an island to the north, and because she asked me for it, very polite, she was very polite, and she offered me tea, and so I loaned her my soul. And then she wanted me to send messages back and forth. And that's actually one of the things that we have to do in London, is I have to drop off a message. Approach Mutton Island. Is there something in the air today? A restless breeze. Approach the dock. It's probably nothing. The moment passes. The ship slides into dock. Okay, this is interesting because the last time I played, I played through a little bit after I originally got my submarine to practice. The last time I played, this turned into a huge refugee problem. Somebody attacked the island and threw all the people off, and they ended up on a muddy shoal, and I couldn't dock. And I ended up having to pick up refugees and take them to other islands. So things change, things change as you go through the Unterzea. So it looks like in this case we're fine. Sleek ships are docked in harbor. Installations of heavy artillery line the shore. The banners of the Eagle Clan, yellow as honey, draped from each roof. Mutton Island has fallen. Oh, nope. It looks like it happened again. Mutton Island did fall. So we could attempt to dock, but we're probably going to get shot. We can gather a port report, a tough challenge. We only have a 37% chance to do it, but we'll give it a shot, because I'm a very risky individual. We failed. Your little lifeboat draws up the cliff face. As you are mooring it to the rock, a shot rings out from above. A bullet pierces your little craft. Water is coming in. Another shot. Row! For God's sake, row! So we've gained 2 terror, because, of course, we're scared. We did get a port report of Quaker's Haven, but not a good one. We did fail our mirrors challenge, so we got what we wanted, but we took some fear for it. Now we have a very modest challenge here, 79% chance to smuggle refugees to the Shepherd's Island. As your vessel passes, muddy islanders emerge from one of the island's coves. They leap and wave rags. Your lifeboat pulls up to the cove unnoticed by the sentries. Came while we were asleep, they did, an islander whispers. Some of us managed to make it to the docks, or else to the coves. A couple of the lads held out in the cock and magpie as long as they could. He runs a grimy hand through his hair and boards. Yeah, so there's an S missing there. So again, typos. So we succeeded in a Veils challenge. We now have we now have 1 times Mutton Island refugee crisis and 1 times Mutton Island refugees. So we have some refugees. We're not going to attempt to do anything else. We're just going to leave the island, which is funny because we can still, well, we can't buy, but we can still sell to the island, oddly enough. But we're not going to do that. We're just going to go. So we're not too far from London proper. The Murray Straits right next to Quaker's Haven, or Mutton Island, are right next door. And this is a pretty easy place. Now, much like a lot of RPGs and other such locales, or other games, this game has a gets harder as you go further mechanic to it. Enemies that you meet near London and to the north of London, or at least in the general vicinity of London, we're going to butcher it for supplies. If I butcher it, we eat. If we dissect it, we get some pages. We're going to go ahead and butcher it, because it gets rid of our hunger. It's a cheap food supply. As you move away from London, London's more of a bubble. It's more of an arc. And as you go further south, further out, or further north, the enemies get harder. And so close to London, you're pretty safe. Weapons are also an interesting thing. Your deck gun, which is what I've been using to fire, does not have very much power. I have the best deck gun there is, and it does 18 damage across the board, which is only 10 more than the original gun the ship came with. Larger guns, which are more expensive and can be fitted, not to this ship, I'd have to upgrade my ship because it doesn't have a forward or a rear gun, can fire and can do damage, but they have smaller arcs, and they require ammunition, which can cost money. But we've returned to London. The lights of London welcome you home. The storylet only appears when you've been at sea for a little while. As soon as the gangplank touches the quay side, the terror of the deep sea lighten. Walk taller, smile more readily. But what dreams may cling? And so that'll instantly drop us down to 50 terror, which is nice. Coming home. Terror is always reduced to 50 when you return to London, if it's higher. However, if your terror was high, you may suffer nightmares faster. Menaces. Nightmare strength remains unchanged. So my nightmare strength is at 3, and what that means is while at sea or anywhere, whether it be at sea or in port, I will suffer nightmares. And those are little occurrences that pop up that I have to deal with in some way. And you also have your logbook, which is a very interesting logbook. Home waters, sailors dawdle on the rail, watching for the lights of London, and sighted auroral megalops, which was that little crab we shot. Blue lightning crawls leisurely up the funnel. St. Erasmus is dancing, the cry goes up. I'm assuming they're happy about that, I don't know. So we'll continue. We will collect messages from the harbor master. All the clatter and song of the dockside. Jesus the soul. All their messages for you. So let's see. We have something changed in the Neath. Someone wants to sign on. That's all for now. We now have another day of free evening. And another day the rose market hasn't changed because it's higher than 0. Alright. So we're going to do some things that I do here in London that are pretty simple and neat. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to our... Oh, okay, it looks like we already have news. If you come to your lodgings, there'll be a thing up here at the top that says gather your news, like basically read a newspaper. I already have recent news, so I can't do that. Second thing we're going to do is actually we are going to go to London proper. Now, you don't have to scroll through these if you don't want to. You can use this on the side, so we can just click on London. We're going to go ahead and deliver our Sphinx Stone because it's taking up a crap ton of our hold, basically all of our hold. Special constables, black uniforms, distinctive caps, the badge of the Ministry of Public Decency. Wait with a cart. Sign, sign, sign. Here's a receipt. Here's a discretion contract. Here's a penalty contract. Your vision is blurred by the end of it all. The cart rumbles off into the coiling fog. Here's your reward. So we gained 500 echo. So it's a 300 echo profit, which is much more than you'll get by trading. Trading will usually get you a 3 to 5 echo boost from any items that you trade. So a 300 echo bonus is a large amount, but it doesn't last forever. And I won't spoil you as to why, but it's not something you can farm. It will eventually go the way of the dodo on you, and then you'll have to deal with that. We've lost 2 terror, so we're now at 48 nervous. We can probably bring this down to about 30 if we're lucky. We delivered our Sphinx Stone, we got our hold back, we're good to go. Now we can go about and rouse the docks, but we're not going to. We could hire on more crew, which we don't need. We can do a new recruit. Now a new recruit usually refers to one of these, whether it be your gunner, your first officer, surgeon, whichever. I haven't hired anybody because I've been stingy with my money, and I don't really care about the other 2 people. But each one of these guys, and there are multiples, they're not always the same people, have their own little stories. You ask them questions, like the tireless mechanist or mechanic, excuse me. You can invite him to dinner, and he'll go with you and hang out with you at your table. Longshank's gunner, of course, is the gunner. She actually came with us when I chose my past. I chose my past as a street urchin, so she came with us. But we have a very important mission to do with the Brass Embassy. And if you remember, I sold my soul to Vudevalis, and she asked me to bring a missive to the Brass Embassy, so that's where we're going now. This is Hell's Foothold in London. It's warm, bright, and handsome. Every window blazes with light. There's a screech abruptly cut off from the excruciation annex, excuse me. Oh. Did I already come here? Do I not have the missive already? Wait. Oh, nope. A gift for the Wistful Deviless. I already delivered her message. I have to give her her gift back. That's why I'm here. So I have a move in the Great Game. I can use that. So where we're going to go next is we're going to go to the Dark Spectacled Admiral. You're ushered into his office of Mansion's Pyre, a cramped room with a vast desk. He surveys you across that desk. Ah, yes, the merchant captain of whom we hear such complicated things. And we have some options of what we can do here, and we're going to take a couple of them, but the first one we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and speak of moves in the Great Game. Vespers. He has to repeat it all twice. He doesn't take notes. It is a little beyond me, he tells you, but I have a friend in the palace who will be interested. Very interested. Thank you. Your fee. So he gave us 30 echoes. We got a favor. The favors are actually helpful. They're very cheap ways of fixing your ship. You get 1 for every new port you go to. Repeated visits to that port do not get you new Admiralty favors, but moves in the Great Games will get you a favor, and they're very easy to come by, so it's nice, a nice little bonus there. So what we're going to do now is we are going to drop off our port reports. And what is the day-to-day like on those farther shores? And these are kind of interesting and cute the first time you read them. There's 1 or 2 differences in them, but they're usually the same. The Quinmeal Canal. Well, if you've been there, I suppose we may as well hear about it. The fee is nominal, though. Of course, this is a very close place nearby, so they don't really care. So they only gave us 5 echoes for it, but I happen to pass by. The Iron Republic. Excuse me, I needed to unlock this, and this, oops, and this. Could you please place your reports inside? Yes, I imagine that someone will read it, eventually. There's always someone. Vroomf. No, I didn't expect that to happen. Well, perhaps it's for the best. Some reports should not be reported. No, don't concern yourself. This was my 3rd best suit, and the Admiralty offers a modest allowance for document-related damage. Perhaps it's best if you leave now, though. Good day. So, apparently the paper caught fire, randomly, and it burnt his suit. That may not make much sense to most people, but the Iron Republic is owned by the denizens of Hell. So, things there are a little weird. The fact that even taking that report causes me to shiver a little is kind of interesting, but he kicked me out, so now we have to go back to submit our reports again and finish submitting our reports. The Isle of Cats. And what does the so-called Pirate King have to say for himself these days? Yes, well, we did rather know about this Rose Gardens. Not good news that they're prospering, though. Really, should have nipped that in the, if you'll allow me, bud. And trading with the Kanate? With the Iron Republic? Bother. I may have to have a meeting about this. So, we got 30 echoes out of that one. And of course, we are getting 1 fuel for most of these. So every time we give him something, we get a fuel. You know, I sometimes wonder whether that place was a good idea. I didn't say that. So, Port Carnelian. 30 echoes, and we got a fuel out of it. No special comments. The Salt Lyons. The bazaar has always taken an interest in this place. And there's nothing there. Okay, now this one's interesting because it says ask to speak to the Dark Spectacled Admiral, but the Quaker's Haven is right down here, and so is Rosegate, so we're going to scroll down. We are well informed of the situation. Painfully well informed, thank you, though. So, they are aware of the issue there, but we got 5 echoes out of it. Not exactly worth all the trouble it was to get it, but it's 5 echoes. Rosegate. I bought his cigars when he was still in London. What's he doing down there? I don't know, but we got 35 echoes out of it. Now, we did get a Admiralty's favor because it was the first time we were ever there. We got our port report done. New accomplishments, surveyed Rosegate. And we got another fuel, giving us a total of 18. And that gives us $1,509. Now, again, you can trade. Like, we picked up a Foxfire candle from that ship, so I'm just going to sell it because I don't really use them for much. We will buy a few supplies. Fuel is interesting because it's cheap here. Actually, that's really cheap here. Somehow I thought it was... Well, we'll buy 2 fuel. And we're up to 30 out of 40 cargo. Go us. Now, most of the stuff you can sell. Some of it you can buy. It's always expensive here. But you can sell it, like sacks of black or dark drop coffee beans, and I think sapphire casks can both be bought in the port of Carnelian. Sapphire casks are like 87 down there, so you get 3. And I think sacks of coffee are 38, so you get about, what, 6 per unit? So yeah, you don't get a lot of money, but if you want to be a trader, it's an option. Not a great option, but an option. We have some guns, which we can buy many of. No place to put them, though. Our ship is too tiny. And we already have one of these, the Caminus Yard's Hell Thrasher. Caminus Yards stand well back. A weapon of savage and alarming power. So it does 18 hull damage, 18 life damage, 2 crew damage, and the warm-up time is 4 seconds. We could buy bigger ones, but these are aft weapons and deck guns we do not have. Or, excuse me, forward weapons. We have a deck gun, but we have no forward weapon. And we have new engines. I own this engine, which is a pretty powerful engine, but it burns more fuel, which is why we're carrying so much of it, but it gets us there a little bit faster. And then we have a blazing glim lamp, which we can get. I'm still using our basic lamp, but you can buy better lamps. As you can see, they'll remove veils, which is your ability to hide, and increase mirrors, which is your ability to see. And that basically allows you to lock onto an enemy a little bit faster. Alright, and so we're done here in Fallen London. Now, I've done this a few times, and we're going to do this again. Manual saves, again, are one of those things that you do when you've gone out of rogue mode. You start out with a kind of a roguish mode where dying is permanent, you cannot save. You have to just deal with it if you die, but again, for this particular bargain bin, this particular video, I had to go into easy mode. And even in easy mode, one of my captains died because I ended up way out at sea with no food, and I was at 98 terror. And I had exactly 1 crew more than I needed to make my ship go, because I have 9 out of 10 crew right now. If that number drops too low, I think it's 5 or 4 crew, I then lose the ability to go full speed. I can only go up to 1 rather than 2 on the speed gauge over here. And what that ends up doing is it ends up killing you, because you're going too slow, you're still eating food, you're still using fuel, and you're still gaining terror, but you're not getting anywhere. And so one of my captains ended up dying due to a mutiny out at Z, even with saving. So it's not a perfect fix, but it helps. And there's one other thing that we needed to do that I almost forgot, which is this. Put our ship in dry dock. Now, there are many options here to put your ship in dry dock, but the one that I prefer is this one, Admiralty Yards. You may call in some of your Admiralty favors to have a cheap, good quality work done on your ship. This will completely repair your hull, no matter how damaged it is, and we're less than 50%, so I like that. It takes 25 echoes and 1 Admiralty's favor. I believe, or maybe it takes 3 Admiralty's favor. I don't know, but I'm going to use it anyway. Yeah, 3 times favor. So we lost 3 Admiralty's favor, but I am okay with that because it repairs our ship and we're good to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick run up north. This video is going to be a little bit longer than your standard Let's Play. And because it's a bargain bin, I want to show off some of the things you can do. Especially now, again, that the Zubmariner campaign came out. And I've looked at the Zubmariner campaign, and almost every dock will have a mission for your submarine. And which means basically now you have 2 games in one. It's the same game, but you have an upper layer and literally a lower layer. Where you take a mission or a quest from somebody and they say, hey, I need you to take me to a place. And you go to that place, and that place is underwater. And we're going to take a look here at Low Barnett. Okay, I keep hitting E because I think that's my engine, and it's not. E is your interact. E is your battle button. So we're going to go ahead and head this way. We're going to dock here at Low Barnett. A sunken church with docking ports. Sediment has built up against the lower walls and long ago choked neglected crypts and crooked tombstones. The interior is sealed, yet the deep peals of the tower bell can be felt even through a submarine hull. So we have some options here. I'm not going to take any of them. I'm just going to explore the church. That gives us a port report, and that's all I really want. The rest of these I can't do anything with right now. It's something that you do. Basically, the idea is when you have a story, this is the type of place you come with a story, and it unlocks the ability to do a few things, or if you have a very specific item. I've already been here once before, and I know that I can't do any of this other stuff right now. Something I can come back to later. What goes on here? What brings its congregation together? There is no pulpit. The organ has bent and broken pipes. Below Barnett is still a house of worship, of a sort. Groups of sailors gather in the aisles. The choir benches are clean and face a makeshift stage. Lanternized fish pass behind colorful windows of stained glass. The door to the bell tower is guarded by 2 burly vergers. The tridents are a nice touch. And so now we have a port report, so we're going to go ahead and just leave. Hup. And you can spend some time under the Z if you want. You can, as far as I'm aware, as far as I've been able to tell, there's no difference between being under the sea and above the sea when it comes to speed, terror, or fuel use. And so because of that, you can stay under the Z as long as you have oxygen, and your oxygen does not go down very quickly at all. As a matter of fact, I spent quite some time under the sea. I'm not singing the song. The urge was there just for a moment, but I'm not going to sing the song. I spent some time under the sea, and I didn't even realize I had an oxygen gauge until I came back up to the surface, so I'm hoping there's some kind of emergency warning there. Hunter's Keep, a quiet isle, a grand old house. A hump of dark rock swathed in mist, like 100 other Unterzea islands, but here a grand house, windows aglow, lawns impossibly green and lush in the false starlight, raked gravel paths. You stand on the dock. As the sea nudges the ship's sides, an unexpectedly warm breeze carries the faintest trace of lavender. And so we can reconnoiter the island again. This is our port report. Ships rarely come here. Nothing changes, even the weather. The house in the heart of the island, the house and the sisters. But the Admiralty may be happy to know that nothing's changed, at least. And so we have that. And we have news. We can coax the sisters out with news. Even when the sisters aren't feeling sociable, they can be tempted out of their lair by the smell of news stories. So news helps you out. There's a few places where having recent news can help you out, and this is one of those. You ask the sulphur-eyed maid to carry a few hints of your news to the sisters. Oddly enough, she comes back with a message that their headaches are cured, and they've invited you to lunch. So you have a choice of which sister to partake with. I enjoy Cynthia because Cynthia can increase our irons. She can decrease our irons too, and sometimes neither happens, so we'll have to find out which way it goes. We've gained 1 iron for a new total of 44. Cynthia grasps your arm and whispers to you. Her eyes are wide and blue, her hair as wild and tangled. Bats might nest in it. It seems to you that you are sitting on a hillside above a wide blue lake listening to a story of a murder, an axe, a net, blood, and scented water. Another chop, Cynthia asks. You've barely touched your food. Here, I'll have the maid wrap something up for you. You can't be hungry. It's not safe to be hungry. So we gained 1 tale of terror. We've gained 1 terror because we were scared fruitless for that. We gained a supply, which is helpful. Our acquaintance with the sisters, but something has changed. That's a very important thing. Whenever it says something has changed, you have to be very cautious. We've gained 1 new iron, and the salt's attention quality is now exclamation point, which I'm guessing is a good thing. We also lost our hunger. So it's pretty good to stop by Hunter's Keep every now and again. Now, normally I'd go north to Venderbite, but we're going to go ahead and just skip Venderbite, and we're going to head straight northeast. Because if I go through the normal course of things that I go through, there's a lot of places we'll end up going to that you'll, if you play the game, and you absolutely should, there'll be a few places that you'll end up going to over and over again. And if I show them to you now, they won't be fun or new or interesting for you. Because again, there are some places like Hunter's Keep that never change. They're always the same. As a matter of fact, it says right there, it never changes. But what that really means is it never changes in the sense that it will never move. It will always be there. It's a guaranteed place to land. And now we're about to get shot by a pirate. So that question mark means he lost us. He can't see us, which is good. He'll kind of wander around looking for us, but he's lost us for the moment. Again, a high veils will help you out. This is Gator's Mourn. And that kind of tells me where we are. I'm not going to stop by Gator's Mourn because Gator's Mourn is the kind of place that stopping by might end up being dead. As a matter of fact, if you get into Gator's Mourn and then leave with 100% of the crew you came in with, you've done something good in the world. Because every time I go there, I end up losing a crew member for something. Even compiling a port report can be hazardous to your crew. So I tend to avoid it as much as possible. Okay, he sees us. I'd like to get away from him. He may fire on us. Nope, lost us again. That's some pretty good veils. Alright, we have a little guy down here. Restless Nights. Not sure why. There it is. Not sure whether. Oh, because I dragged it down. If we take a look, this is something that pops up every once in a while. This is from our nightmares. My nightmares rating is 3. This is from our nightmares. In the watches of the night, you pad softly past the hatch of the crew quarters. A man cries out softly in his sleep, desperately. Another. So I can ignore them, or I can attempt to inquire about them, but it only gives us a 33% chance of success. In either case, we're going to end up with terrors, but I'll go for the lesser evil and ignore them for now. The crew is subdued as they take their meals, but all is quiet the next watch. And I've lost 1 terror, so now I'm at fearful. But if you try to confront them and fail, you'll end up gaining like 3 to 5 terror, depending. Taking a quick look at our map, Mount Palmerston is north of us, so we're actually going to take a left. So we're going to go visit the young Deviless with whom I have made a deal for my soul. And again, not really a deal. I handed her my soul out of kindness. The other thing we're going to do is, if you saw, there was that anchor that suggested that we had a place up here that we could dock at. So we're going to go ahead and take a chance to dive beneath the Z. Aren't they? Now, I say that name as if I know what it is, and I do, but I know it for a completely different reason than you might think. I've never been to Anthe before. They call it the City of Flowers, but the flowers are crystals, spiral matrices grown on the walls of Anthean caves. And we're not going to stay. I'm not going to read it, I'm not going to look at it, we're not going to stay at it. So you guys are going to have to find out what Anthe is about all by yourselves. Told you we're not going to stop everywhere, not going to spoil it. And again, I don't even know what Anthe is. I just know the name. Oh, wow. Now that is a pretty island. I do like the sonar, how it pings out and lets you know when things are afoot. So let's go ahead and head up. I think it's pushing me sideways because there's no depth where it's black. Any place your sonar can't... Oop, we hit the wall. Any place your sonar can't go, you can't go either. That's important to know. So this is Port Palmerston at Mount Palmerston, which is where our Deviless lives. And we should have a... Yes, we do have a story, so go up to the crater. They say the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but the road to the Brimstone Convention is paved with cinders. And we're going to visit the wistful Deviless. Perhaps it's time for a cup of honey fungus tea. Almost there. Look down and see Port Palmerston like a toy, and the ruins like gravel. You've come far, but the volcano's cone still rears above you. Rest a little before you go the last half mile. The wistful Deviless. The road to the crater ends at a brass gate in the crater wall. Beside it stands an oddly charming little cottage. It's thrown together from pumice and basalt, but it features honeysuckle. An equally charming Deviless in a tea gown leans against the cottage wall, twirling a parasol and fanning herself. I am the guardian of this place, she remarks languidly. You may not pass, but can I offer you a cup of vermilion tea? So we're going to give her the news from the embassy and the gift. Now, we can say no, we can give her the news but not the gift, and we'll gain 150 echoes, but I'm not going to rob this nice lady of her well-earned reward. The Deviless keeps little snakes as pets now, each no bigger than her little finger. She scratches their heads, she calls them by name, and once, when she thinks you aren't looking, she pops one into her mouth and chews it like a licorice treat. What did they say, she asks. So we're going to give her her treat. Her actual treat. Delight! The Deviless opens the parcel. Amanita sherry. She pours you each a splashy glass, chattering giddily. She blesses when she sees you push the glass away. Force of habit, I don't really want to poison you. It's such good news, isn't it? Do you really think they'll trust me? I would so love to get away from this ghastly little rock, back to where the souls glow and the dances never end. So listen, I have something more valuable for them. The name of 7 devils back home who remain loyal to the aristocracy, to Brimstone. Here, take the names, give them to the embassy. Ask them if I can come home. Sail swiftly, my brave captain. All my hopes rest with you. And so that story will have to wait. But that's what I wanted to do, is bring you that. And this is literally what you'll get when you play Sunless Sea. And you have to remember, it is a roguelike. It doesn't feel like a roguelike, because as you progress through the story, each story, you want to continue going, and you get into a ship battle that you may not lose, and that makes you uncomfortable. You have to manage your fuel, your food, your fear. And those are all things that can eventually just come out of the night and kill you. As a matter of fact, I've literally lost crewmates over the side of the ship simply because a tentacle has come up from the Neath and taken them down. But nothing. It just randomly happens. I've had crew members go mad and start killing other crew members, and things like that can cause a ruckus. So the game is interesting. The game is a lot of fun, and I would suggest that if you've never... Let me put it this way. If you want to try it, but you don't want to pony out the cash for it, then go try Fallen London, because you'll get the same basic story experience. And if you find yourself intrigued or enthralled with simply the character creation and the world in which you find yourself in Fallen London, then you absolutely will love Sunless Sea, because it adds that story element, that classic, I want to say steampunk, but it's not really steampunk, it's more like magic punk of all things. Classic Victorian age, but with the devils and the darkness and the things in the dark that go bump in the night, all kind of rolled together into one. And then you have that all tied in with this roguelike shipping game where you can trade and you can fight and you can find yourself in a very bad situation. And so for now, having been such a long time and long video, but there's a lot to cover, and still I didn't cover anything, because we could play this forever, and I still am finding stories, and even places I've never been before. I've never been to the far side of the map, because the farther you go from London, the harder it gets. There's just way too much to cover, so I have to find a place to end, and I think the end of that particular story arc would be a perfect place to stop. So we're going to go ahead and stop here. So I want to go ahead and thank you all very much for joining me, 4KB Short, on this bargain bin of Sunless Sea with the Zubmariner DLC. And I'll see you guys next video.